The Prime Minister has sort of largely stayed out of this. I think the general rule in politics is, when your enemy is in a hole, don't give them a shovel, help them out, just to keep the attention on them. But she was asked specifically about this. Now, this is a big issue for the Labour Party internally. It's a big issue for British politics. I think many people agree on this, whether or not the leader of one of the major parties of this country, who could very well, judging by the polls, be the next Prime Minister, is actually a racist. Now, she warned Jeremy Corbyn in her comments that anti-Semitism is racism. Does this upgrade the row further for many members of the Labour Party?
Well, I don't know. It's actually an extraordinary thing that Rabbi Sachs has said. If you think about what Enoch Powell was on about, he gave his Rivers of Blood speech in 1968 as a way of combating a development of the Race Relations Act. There was a bill that was amending and strengthening the Race Relations Act, and he was arguing against that. He was actually arguing against immigration. It was extremely racist guy who had evoked a huge following. There were dockers marching and meat porters from Smithfield. I was old enough at the time to remember marching through London with an extremely racist agenda. Now, that followed on, if you like. That's in the tradition of Mosley in 1936, marching through the Jewish community in the East End of London, when the Board of Deputies told the Jews not to oppose that, but to stay indoors. Here's Margaret Thatcher in Nigeria, right, in Africa, talking about supporting someone who's referencing Enoch Powell. But look at this guy, Jonathan Sachs. Last year, in March, he led a demonstration, an annual demonstration through Jerusalem called Flags Day, where, to quote Haaretz, like the Guardian in Israel, says it's an annual gender-segregated, extreme right, preoccupation, religious carnival of hatred, marking the anniversary of Israel's capture of Jerusalem. They march, they vandalize shops, they chant death to Arabs, shattered windows, and stick up doors with super glue. Well, I'm old enough to remember my parents talking about Kristallnacht in Germany, when that same thing was done to the Jewish
are you
community.
basically saying that, there's the criticism from Rabbi Jonathan Sachs, but you're saying, well, he keeps some very unsavory company himself, and therefore his criticism isn't valid?
Well, what I'm saying is that he's using an argument about irony, and then saying that because Zionists are being accused of, a particular group of Zionists, by the way, I'll go into that in a minute, are being accused of lacking irony, that has some bearing on some similarity to Enoch Powell and that racism.
No, but I think we all know, but Glyn, I think we all know, don't we, that that the comments that Lord Sachs made aren't based on just one video. It's about a whole history of what what Jeremy Corbyn has said, what he has done, the company has kept, the people that he has called friends.
Yeah, but that's not what Sachs said.
But nobody speaks out of that context.
He said this example of Corbyn's behaviour was the tipping point for him, that it was as bad as
yes, he said, yes, exactly, a tipping point after this. This wasn't a one-off comment that he made that could have been misinterpreted out of context. It wasn't misinterpreted. It wasn't out of context. Those of us who've watched the full videotape know it's not out of context. This is my issue, though. You're a big support. No, Glyn, you're a big supporter. No, we're not discussing that. That was last week's story. What I'm discussing is what happens now. You've got the Tory Prime Minister able to criticise the Labour leader over questions of being anti-Semitic, being racist. Can you?
Not new either.
Well, you think the Prime Minister just regularly goes around calling the Labour leader racist? I've never heard of this before.
Well, she adopted the IHRA, the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance definition, with all its examples, without the caveats that the Home Affairs Committee suggested, she has been on side on this for some time.
On side? What do you mean on side on this?
On side with the campaign against Corbyn.
Okay, no, but this is the thing. This is the thing. A lot of people don't understand. Your organisation, Glyn, you very much view this. Your body was even set up about to defend Corbyn on this. Basically, you think this whole thing is a big smear. It's from the far right or the alt-right, the Tories, or wherever it is you whatever term we're using today. And this is an anti-Labour, an anti-Corbyn thing, and it's all got up by the mainstream media, don't you?
It's got two purposes. One is to shut down criticism of Israel's violation of Palestinian human rights.
No one is having their criticism of Israel shut down.
Of course it is.
No. Mate, I can criticise Benjamin Netanyahu's policies on Palestine any day of the week, quite happily.
But what's it saying about that they would not accept any rowing back on that clause G?
There's nothing in the international definition of anti-Semitism that prevents people criticising the elected government of Israel.
Well, don't talk over me. Let me argue.
Well, if you don't talk nonsense, I won't have to talk over you, will you?
I'm not talking nonsense.
You
You're saying
are.
I'm talking nonsense. No, I'm not. It says, clause G says it's delegitimizing Israel by claiming that it's a racist enterprise. Well, it is.
That's got nothing to do with its policies.
Well, of course
Glyn,
it has. What do you think the settlement?
Glyn, fundamentally,
what do you think 50 years of occupation of the Palestinians?
I don't think that Israel should have done that. I'm quite happy to criticise them. I think the American government, British government should be more critical of them. But that doesn't mean I walk around talking about Zionists not being properly English in this country. I mean, look, you genuinely think this whole thing is a big smear against Jeremy Corbyn. It's all made up, and he's an absolutely wonderful man. He probably walks on water. He's Magic Santa or whatever it is you think he is. Do you think, though, at some point this is going to actually damage the party and damage Jeremy Corbyn?
Cut me off in a minute, aren't you? Let me say what the irony was about, right?
No, I'm not. No, Glyn. No, I'm not. I'm not discussing a week-old story. We're not discussing whether. We are not discussing whether or not Jeremy Corbyn did or did not say something that he did actually say. He's on video saying it. We know what the context was because we've seen the context.